This clip details how the Jewish apartheid, now apparent to all in Jewish-occupied Palestine, was detailed to the world over 30 years ago, despite the clear path Israel chose over the time since then, implemented now by U.S. citizen Benjamin Netanyahu. The U.S. has financed the oppression of the Muslims in the Middle East and provided military aid, technology, and intelligence to the Jewish oppressors for decades. And they knew what was going to happen, and our leaders in the U.S. government permitted it to happen and actually enabled it to happen. Rabbi Meir Kahane was a very well-known incendiary figure in New York back in the 1980s. He was head of the JDL, or it was known as the Jewish Defense League. And he used to get travel visas. I thought he was a U.S. citizen, but maybe not. He used to get travel visas to come to the United States from Israel to spread his message of oppression. And he successfully raised funds from U.S. citizens to support the apartheid that's now going on in Israel. He was a member of the parliament from 1984 to 1988 in Israel. The excerpts that are going to be detailed here are from his book, They Must Go. It was written in 1981. It's posted so that people can understand how our government knew exactly what was going to happen, exactly what the path the Jewish occupiers were going to take in Palestine. And yet the government went along with it. Our government went along with it. These excerpts are also posted so that people will be able to know the situational ethics that Jews in the U.S. possess. Anytime anyone in the U.S. dare speaks out against the Jewish oppression in Palestine, or they complain about or expose the undue Jewish influence and control of our United States government, and they propose adequate civil remedies that already exist in our country so that we can rectify this situation and give the government back to the 97% of the people who aren't Jewish, immediately we are vilified as a racist or anti-Semite or compared to Hitler. On the other hand, the Jews in Palestine never condemned, which with such vile and vigor, and they continue to be financed by the Jews in Palestine. Continue to be financed in their endeavors to oppress and exterminate the Arabs there. So, situational ethics. Take a look at what Rabbi Meir Kahane used to say and judge for yourself. The author of these words is Rabbi Meir Kahane, member of the Israeli Knesset, founder of the political party JDL, Jewish Defense League, and he wrote a book, They Must Go. It's printed in 1981. So important was Kahane's writings that they were put in a reference book. The reference book came out in '89. And if you read excerpts of the book, they must leave the country for their own lands. He's talking about the Arabs, and that must be the Israeli policy. As part of that policy, life must be made very difficult for them. That is the way to encourage immigration and spare Israel tragedy. Imagine that. Arabs in Israel. It's a tragedy for them, for the Jewish people.
This guy, Kahane, urged the adoption of the policy to clarify the character of the nation and the state and its citizens. Talks about the land and the state exist to serve the people. Whose people? Well, of course, the Jewish people. And only tyrants who oppose, people who oppose Jews are tyrants. He talks about that nations are a family, a tribe, a clan of people, common origin, history, heritage. The land has a function to serve the people. Who? The Jewish people. And Kahane goes on to say, so the right of non-Jews to live in Palestine, oh, see, he calls it the land of Israel, isn't that nice, is to be decided upon the owners of the land, its citizens. So, the Jews, of course. The Arabs are just resident strangers. Talks about the state of Israel belongs only for the Jewish nation and the membership of the Jewish nation. People who are Jews are entitled to automatic citizenship. As far as the Arabs, indicates they must pledge their loyalty to the Jewish state, which they accept as the land of Israel, as the homeland to the Jewish people, and recognize total Jewish sovereignty over it, as well as the absolute and exclusive right of the Jewish people to it. Those who do so are residents and non-citizens of Israel with no national, cultural, economic, religious, with no national sovereignty, no political voting rights, since they are not members of the Jewish nation. And how do the Jews accomplish this Jewish nation? Let's see. In the meantime, there should be a campaign to persuade the Arabs to leave voluntarily. They have to require to serve 3 years in a work corps, beginning at the age of 18, for 1 month every year, for 1 month every year and thereafter. And Arabs, of course, are not allowed to study in the university without a declaration of their loyalty to the Jewish state. And to carry out this Jewish apartheid and eventual total Jewishness of Israel, the transfer of the huge bulk of Arabs from the country will enable the government each year to transfer many billions of funds previously spent on the Arab sector to the impoverished Jewish classes. Isn't that nice? And then if you look further, it indicates removal of the Arab will be a giant step towards the removal of both enemy and poverty. Isn't that nice? So Arabs cause poverty. Here Kahane quotes somebody in 1979, hero of the Israeli army, saying, don't put them on trucks or kill them, but we must create a situation for them which is not worth living here, but rather in Jordan or Saudi or any of the other Arab states. Then he indicates, reference shelf, Palestinian problem. Let's see. The problem in the Jew who stupidly equates the transfer of Arabs with Hitler genocide of the Jews as if we were advocating gas chambers or killing the Arabs in any form. The separation, let's see, as if the separation of the Jew and Arab will not save Arab and Jewish lives both. See, so according to Kahane, and of course the current Israeli policy of occupied Palestine, separation saves lives. I wonder how the Jewish people in America would think about this if we decided to separate them from the 97% of us who are not Jewish. Let's see. Then he also indicates the horror of the Holocaust. It's dishonest to compare the horror of the Holocaust to him, because they're intellectual dwarves who equate it with any event that they cannot abide.